The year was 2785, and humanity had spread across 37 star systems. The Earth Alliance ship Intrepid glided through the darkness of space, its engines humming with quiet power. Commander Ethan Powell stood on the bridge, his hands clasped behind his back as he stared at the massive alien vessel that approached them. "All systems ready, Commander," said Lieutenant Gary Miller from the weapons station. "Shields at full strength, just in case." Ethan nodded, but kept his expression neutral. This was humanity's first contact with an advanced alien civilization, and he wasn't going to be the one to start an interstellar incident. "Keep weapons powered down," he ordered. "Let's not give our new friends any reason to worry." The communications officer Nancy Wilson looked up from her console. "Sir, they're hailing us again. Same message as before." "Put it through," Ethan said. The main screen flickered, and an alien face appeared. The creature had pale blue skin with iridescent patterns that seemed to shift in the light. Its four eyes blinked independently of each other, and when it spoke, a set of secondary mouthparts moved in complex patterns. "Greetings again, humans of Earth Alliance," the alien said, its words translated by the ship's computer. "I am High, Envoy Zax Tour of the Velrathi Confederation. We await your boarding party at the designated coordinates." Ethan stepped forward. "High Envoy, we're honored by your invitation, but as discussed, we would prefer our first face-to-face meeting take place on neutral ground. Perhaps one of our shuttle bays?" The alien's upper eyes narrowed slightly. "If you insist on such cautious measures, we will comply. Though I assure you, Commander Powell, if we wished you harm, your vessel's defenses would provide little protection." The screen went dark before Ethan could respond. "Well, that was friendly," muttered Dr. Olivia Martinez as she entered the bridge. As the ship's chief science officer, she had been studying the Velrathi transmissions nonstop since first contact 3 days ago. "They're confident, I'll give them that," Ethan said. "Prep Shuttle Bay 3 for the meeting, full diplomatic protocols." He turned to his security chief. "Jeff, I want a security team present, but keep weapons holstered. Clear?" Jeff Parker nodded. "Crystal clear, sir." 2 hours later, Ethan stood in Shuttle Bay 3 alongside Dr. Martinez, Lieutenant Miller, and a small team of officers. The massive doors slid open to reveal a sleek silver craft that seemed to flow like liquid metal as it entered the bay. It settled onto the deck without a sound, not even the whisper of landing thrusters. "Impressive," Olivia whispered. "Their propulsion system must be incredibly advanced." A seam appeared in the side of the alien craft, and a ramp extended to the deck. 4 Velrathi emerged, their tall, slender forms moving with fluid grace. High Envoy Zax Tour led the group, easily identified by the ornate silver harness that crossed his chest. "Commander Powell," Zax Tour said with a slight bow, "your hospitality is appreciated despite your concerns." Ethan stepped forward and performed the greeting they had practiced, pressing his right palm outward. "High Envoy, welcome aboard the Intrepid. We're honored to be the first humans to meet your people face to face." The diplomatic pleasantries continued for several minutes before Zax Tour looked around the shuttle bay, with his 4 eyes moving independently, seemingly taking in every detail at once. "Perhaps you would show us your vessel," the alien suggested. "We are curious about human technology." The tour began with the main engineering section. Chief Engineer Bill Foster proudly explained the Intrepid's fusion drives and FTL capabilities. As he detailed the latest advancements in human propulsion technology, Ethan noticed the Velrathi exchanging glances. "Is something wrong?" he asked. Zax Tour made a sound that the translators interpreted as polite amusement. "Not at all, Commander. It's just interesting to see how you've approached faster-than-light travel. Your method is quite creative, given the limitations you've had to work with." Bill's face reddened slightly. "Our fusion-catalyzed warp field generators are the most advanced in the Earth Alliance fleet," one of the other Velrathi introduced, as Science Director Ven Lara ran a device over the engine housing. "Indeed, and remarkably functional for such a fundamental design. We achieved similar results approximately 500 years ago, though we abandoned this approach when its limitations became apparent." The tour continued through weapon systems, life support, and communications. At each stop, the Velrathi response was the same. Polite interest masking thinly veiled condescension. In the medical bay, Dr. Olivia Martinez demonstrated the ship's advanced medical technology, including the molecular reconstructors that could heal almost any injury. Fascinating, said Venlara. Your medical technology seems to be your most advanced field, almost on par with our standard field equipment. Olivia frowned. Our reconstructors can rebuild damaged tissue at the cellular level. They've reduced mortality rates by 87% on frontier colonies. Yes, a commendable achievement, Zaxtor said, but his tone suggested he was speaking to a child who had drawn a particularly nice picture. Perhaps one day we can share some of our medical advancements. They might help you take the next step in your development. As they reached the communications array, Olivia pulled Ethan aside. Commander, I've been observing their technology, the devices they're carrying, the design elements of their shuttle. Something seems oddly familiar about them. Familiar how? Ethan asked. I can't put my finger on it yet, but... She was interrupted by an urgent call from the bridge. Commander Powell to the bridge immediately. Priority message from Earth Command. Ethan excused himself and hurried to the bridge, where Lieutenant Nancy Wilson looked up with concern. Sir, we're receiving reports from multiple colonies. Velrathi, ships have appeared in orbit without warning or permission. They claim they're conducting academic studies on primitive technological development. Ethan's jaw tightened. Get me Admiral Garcia on a secure channel now. Meanwhile, on the distant colony of New Horizon, archaeologist Sam Bennett wiped sweat from his brow as he carefully brushed dirt from an unusual metal object. The colony had been established just 15 years ago on what was believed to be an uninhabited world. Yet here, buried 10 meters below the surface, was clear evidence that someone, or something, had been here before. Sam, you need to see this, called his research partner, Dr. Kate Franklin, from the other side of the excavation. Sam carefully made his way across the dig site. Kate stood before a partially excavated wall covered in symbols that glowed with a faint blue light. It activated when I removed the dirt, she said. And look at this. She pointed to a section of exposed metal nearby. This alloy. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. But the strangest thing is this. She held up a scanner. I ran a dating analysis. Sam, whatever this is, it's at least 800 years old. Sam stared at the glowing symbols, a chill running down his spine despite the planet's heat. That's impossible. Humans weren't in space 800 years ago. Exactly, Kate said. So who built this? And why does some of this technology look so familiar? 3 months had passed since first contact with the Velrathi. Relations between humans and the aliens had grown worse with each passing day. The Velrathi continued to treat humans as if they were children playing with dangerous toys. Commander, Ethan Powell stood in Admiral Lisa Garcia's office on Earth, his face grim as he delivered his report. They've set up monitoring stations in 7 of our star systems, he said. Each time they claim it's to help us avoid technological mistakes. Admiral Garcia, a stern woman with gray streaks in her dark hair, shook her head. And what about their offer of technological aid? Ethan's jaw tightened. They're willing to provide what they call basic upgrades to our ships, improve propulsion, better communication systems, but each upgrade comes with Velrathi monitoring equipment that we can't remove or examine. So they give us slightly better technology while keeping us firmly under their thumb, Garcia said. How generous of them. On the other side of the room, Dr. Olivia Martinez studied data on a screen. There's something else, Admiral. The Velrathi have been asking a lot of questions about Earth's history, particularly the 21st century. They've requested access to historical archives that have been sealed for hundreds of years. What kind of archives? Garcia asked. Research records mostly. Scientific breakthroughs, failed experiments, engineering designs that never made it. Past the planning stage. Admiral Garcia turned to look out the window at the sprawling Earth Alliance headquarters. What are they really after? She murmured. Meanwhile, on the colony world of New Horizon, Sam Bennett and Kate Franklin had made significant progress with their discovery. The underground structure was now partially excavated, revealing a facility unlike anything humans had built. Sam passed his hand over a smooth metal panel, and it lit up with symbols and diagrams. "It's responding to human touch," he said, "almost as if it was designed for us." Kate nodded, her eyes never leaving her scanner. "I've confirmed the dating. The oldest sections of this facility are approximately 800 years old. That places it around 1985 by the old Earth calendar. Long before humans had space travel," Sam said. "Yet here it is, on a planet 20 light-years from Earth." Kate pointed to a series of equations floating in holographic form above one of the activated panels. "Look at these. Do they seem familiar? To you?" Sam studied them carefully. "They look like warp field calculations, similar to what our ships use for FTL travel, but somehow cleaner, more elegant." "Exactly," Kate said. "It's like looking at a perfected version of our current technology, as if someone took what we have now and refined it over centuries." Sam moved to another section of the wall and carefully brushed away centuries of dust. More panels lit up, revealing what appeared to be a star map. "Kate, come look at this." The map showed a three-dimensional view of the galaxy, with certain star systems highlighted. Earth was clearly marked, as was New Horizon, but dozens of other systems were also highlighted, systems that matched perfectly with the current extent of both human and Velrathi space. "How is this possible?" Kate whispered. "How could someone 800 years ago know which systems humans and Velrathi would colonize?" Sam had no answer. Back on Earth, Admiral Garcia had authorized a classified operation. Intelligence Officer Alan Whitman led a team to investigate an abandoned research facility hidden deep in the Appalachian Mountains. The facility had been built in the early 21st century and sealed shortly after. Alan's team cut through the final security door and entered a large circular room. Dust covered everything, undisturbed for centuries. In the center stood what appeared to be some kind of engine. "What is that?" asked one of the team members. Alan approached it slowly. According to the old records, this facility was called Project Dawn. It was supposedly working on new energy sources. He wiped dust from a control panel. The symbols on it were not standard English or any other Earth language. They were remarkably similar to the symbols the Velrathi used in their written language. "This doesn't make sense," Alan said. "How could a human research project from the 21st century be using Velrathi symbols?" He continued exploring the facility, finding sealed vaults deep underground. When they opened the first vault, Alan could hardly believe his eyes. Inside were devices that should not have existed in the 21st century, technology that looked more advanced than even current Earth Alliance standards. Most disturbing of all, some of the devices bore a striking resemblance to Velrathi technology. On the Velrathi homeworld, High Envoy Zax Tur faced the ruling council. The 7 elder Velrathi regarded him with their multiple eyes, their skin patterns shifting in complex emotions. "What have you learned from these humans?" asked Council Leader Mazvor. Zax Tur hesitated. "They are more complex than we initially believed. Their technology is primitive compared to ours, yet in some ways, it follows similar development paths." "Almost as if what?" prompted Mazvor. "As if they had a head start, or guidance." Zax Tur paused. "There's something else. Our science team has analyzed the human DNA samples we collected. They've found anomalies." A murmur ran through the council chamber. "What kind of anomalies?" Mazvor demanded. "Genetic markers that appear to have been engineered. They enhance cognitive abilities specifically related to technological innovation. And based on genetic drift analysis, these markers were introduced approximately 700 Earth years ago." The council chamber erupted in alarmed conversation. Mazvor raised his upper limbs for silence. "This is deeply concerning," the council leader said. "If humans were artificially enhanced 700 years ago, who did it? And why?" Zax Tur had no answer. Dr. Olivia Martinez had been granted permission to join the archaeological team on New Horizon. She stood now with Sam and Kate, examining the artifacts they had discovered. "This is incredible," she said, studying one of the smaller devices. "The construction techniques are unlike anything I've seen before, yet somehow familiar. Sam nodded. We've managed to activate some of the smaller artifacts. Watch this. He picked up a smooth, egg-shaped object and pressed his thumb against a specific spot. The object hummed to life, projecting holographic equations and schematics. Into the air, Olivia gasped. Those are FTL drive designs. They're similar to our current models, but much more advanced. Yes, Kate said. But here's the truly strange part. She pointed to a small symbol etched into the base of the device. We've found this mark on every piece of technology in this facility. Olivia leaned closer. The symbol was simple but distinctive. A circle with a horizontal line through it, and 3 small dots arranged in a triangle below the line. I've seen this before, Olivia said slowly. On Earth. It was the logo for a technology company that existed in the 21st century. The 3 of them looked at each other as the implications sank in. How could a human company from 700 years ago create technology we're still trying to catch up to? Sam asked. And how did it end up here, on a planet humans had never visited before? None of them had an answer, but all of them felt the same thing. They were standing on the edge of a discovery that could change humanity's understanding of its own history, and possibly its future. Alan Whitman stood in a secure meeting room deep beneath Earth Alliance headquarters. The walls were designed to block any possible surveillance, and only 5 people were present. Alan himself, Admiral Lisa Garcia, Commander Ethan Powell, Dr. Olivia Martinez, and a man Alan had never met before, a temporal physics expert named Dr. Ryan Cooper. What you're about to see is classified at the highest level, Alan said. He activated a display showing images from the abandoned research facility. We've decrypted files from Project Dawn. What we found is difficult to believe. The screen showed an old video recording. A man in early 21st century clothing stood in a laboratory speaking directly to the camera. My name is Dr. Daniel Hayes, lead scientist for Project Dawn, the man said. If you're watching this, then our worst fears have been realized. Dr. Hayes explained how Project Dawn began as a simple energy research program, but changed dramatically after an encounter with what he described as visitors. These visitors provided technological insights centuries beyond what humans should have been capable of understanding. They showed us designs for technology that shouldn't be possible. Dr. Hayes continued, faster than light travel, energy shields, medical advances that could extend human life by centuries. He looked haggard, his eyes haunted. But they asked for something in return. They needed us to make small adjustments to the human genome. Enhancements they claimed would help humanity survive what's coming. The recording ended with Dr. Hayes explaining that the project was shut down when test subjects began experiencing vivid shared dreams about a future war between humans and an alien race. The room was silent for a long moment. Is that recording authentic? Admiral Garcia finally asked. Alan nodded. The dating puts it at 2085. We've confirmed its authenticity through multiple methods. That's not all, Dr. Olivia Martinez said. She shared the findings from New Horizon, the ancient facility with technology far beyond what humans possessed, even now marked with the logo of a 21st century company. Dr. Ryan Cooper had remained quiet throughout these revelations. Now he leaned forward. I've reviewed all the data, and I have a theory. It's going to sound crazy, but it's the only explanation that fits. Everyone turned to him. This technology wasn't created by humans in the 21st century, Ryan said. It was created by future humans and sent back in time. The room erupted in objections, but Ryan held up his hand. Look at the evidence. Technology that's still advanced by our standards appearing 700 years ago. Genetic modifications that enhance our ability to understand and develop technology. A logo from a 21st century company found on a planet we only colonized 15 years ago. He took a deep breath. Someone from humanity's future changed our past. On the Velrathi homeworld, High Envoy Zaxtur had been summoned to a private meeting with Council Leader Mazvor. The elder Velrathi was studying ancient texts spread across a large table. Do you know what these are? Mazvor asked. Zaxtur recognized them immediately. The sacred tablets. The first writings about the architects. Yes, the beings who, according to our oldest religious texts, seeded the galaxy with technology and guided our people to greatness. Mazvor's skin pattern shifted in what Zaxator recognized as deep concern. For thousands of years we have believed the architects chose the Velrathi above all others. That is why we have always treated emerging civilizations as our inferiors, because we alone were blessed with the architect's guidance. Zaxator wasn't sure where this conversation was leading. Yes, that is our belief. Mazvor touched one of the tablets. These symbols here describe the architects. They had 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head with 2 forward-facing eyes. A chill ran through Zaxator as he realized what Mazvor was suggesting. Like humans. Exactly like humans, Mazvor said. And now we discover that humans have genetic modifications from 700 years ago, and technology that mirrors our own, buried on their colony worlds. The council leader's 4 eyes fixed on Zaxator. I need you to return to human space immediately. Find out everything you can about their Project Dawn and these artifacts they've discovered. Back on New Horizon, Sam Bennett and Kate Franklin had made a breakthrough. With Dr. Olivia Martinez's help, they had discovered that the artifacts contained quantum-locked data stores. Even more surprising, these data stores had human fingerprints embedded at the molecular level. It's as if they were specifically designed so only humans could access them, Kate said. Sam nodded. And the data we've extracted so far includes designs for technology the Velrathi had only developed within the last century. Olivia looked troubled. How is that possible? These artifacts are 800 years old. Before either could respond, their communication system chimed. It was Commander Ethan Powell. His expression was grim. The Velrathi have broken off diplomatic relations, he said. Their ships are leaving Earth orbit and recalling from all human worlds. Why? Olivia asked. What happened? We're not sure. But there's more. Ethan looked even more serious. Admiral Garcia has authorized something called Operation Timekeeper. You 3 are to secure the main artifact site immediately. A team is on its way to you with specialized equipment. As soon as the communication ended, they heard a sound they had never wanted to hear. The colony's planetary defense alarm. Velrathi ships, Kate said, checking the emergency broadcast. 3 warships just entered orbit. They're demanding immediate access to the artifact site. On Earth, Alan Whitman was briefing a team of Special Forces soldiers. You'll be deployed to 7 major artifact sites discovered across human-controlled space, he explained. Each site contains technology similar to what we found on New Horizon. Your mission is to secure these sites and activate the devices using the protocols we've developed. One of the soldiers raised her hand. Sir, what exactly will happen when we activate these devices? Alan hesitated. Based on Dr. Cooper's theory, we believe the devices are part of a network. When activated simultaneously, they should generate a quantum entanglement field that will reveal hidden data, the full truth of where this technology came from and why it was planted throughout human history. The soldier looked skeptical. And if that theory is wrong? Then nothing happens, Alan said. Or something happens that we can't predict. Either way, we need to know. The Velrathi have suddenly turned hostile, and we think it's connected to these discoveries. We're running out of time. On the bridge of his ship, High Envoy Zaxator received an urgent message from the Science Council. We've completed our analysis of human DNA, the science director reported. The genetic markers we discovered weren't just designed to enhance technological understanding. They were specifically created to help humans understand and adapt Velrathi technology. Zaxator felt his skin pattern shift involuntarily in shock. What are you saying? Whoever modified human genetics 700 years ago knew about Velrathi technology, knew exactly how it worked. The only explanation is that they had access to advanced Velrathi technology before we ever met humans. The implications were staggering. If humans had access to Velrathi technology 700 years ago, then everything the Velrathi believed about their special place in the galaxy, about being the chosen people of the architects, might be a lie. Or worse, The humans themselves might somehow be connected to the architects. Set course for the human colony New Horizon, Zaxtor ordered. Maximum speed, and prepare all weapon systems. The sky above New Horizon glowed with the fiery trails of landing craft. Velrathi forces were descending on the colony, targeting the artifact site. Sam Bennett, Kate Franklin, and Dr. Olivia Martinez worked frantically to secure the underground facility. "They're jamming our communications," Kate said, her fingers flying over a control panel. "We can't contact Earth or the defense fleet." Sam hefted a sealed case containing equipment that had just arrived before the Velrathi attack began. "The Admiral's team got this to us just in time. Let's hope it does whatever it's supposed to do." Olivia led them deeper into the facility, to a large circular chamber they had discovered only days earlier. In the center stood a pillar covered in the same strange symbols they had found throughout the site. "According to the instructions, we need to place the devices at these specific points," Olivia said, indicating markings on the floor. As they worked, they could hear explosions from above. The colony's defenders were fighting to keep the Velrathi at bay, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. "Whatever we're doing, we need to do it fast," Sam said. On Earth, Admiral Lisa Garcia stood in a secure command center, monitoring the status of Operation Timekeeper. Screens showed the 6 other artifact sites where teams were working to activate similar devices. A large display in the center tracked the Velrathi fleet movements. "The Velrathi have launched attacks on 3 of our colony worlds, all with known artifact sites," reported a communications officer. Alan Whitman approached the Admiral. "New Horizon team reports they're in position, but communications are being jammed. The other 6 teams report ready status." Admiral Garcia nodded grimly. "Begin the sequence. All teams activate simultaneously, across human space, at 7 different locations." Teams of scientists and soldiers activated ancient devices that had lain dormant for centuries. On New Horizon, Sam, Kate, and Olivia placed the final piece of equipment and activated the sequence. The pillar in the center of the chamber began to glow with a blue light. Lines of energy spread from it, flowing along patterns in the floor that they had never noticed before. The whole chamber hummed with power. "It's working," Olivia whispered. Similar scenes played out at the other 6 sites. Energy fields expanded from each location, reaching outward through space itself. When the fields touched, they created a network, a quantum entanglement grid that spanned all of human-controlled space. In orbit above New Horizon, High Envoy Zaxtor watched in alarm as his sensors detected massive energy spikes from the planet. "Below, what is happening?" he demanded. The science director looked up from her instruments, her skin patterns showing confusion and fear. "They've activated the network. All 7 sites are online and connected." "Stop them," Zaxtor ordered. "Land more troops. Destroy the site if necessary." But it was too late. The quantum entanglement field had stabilized, and now it was revealing its purpose. In the chamber beneath New Horizon, the air above the pillar shimmered and formed into a holographic image of a human woman. She wore a uniform unlike anything in the current Earth Alliance, and her eyes held a depth of experience that made Sam, Kate, and Olivia feel like children in comparison. "If you are seeing this message," the woman said, "then the temporal loop is complete. My name is Admiral Susan Chen of the Earth Defense Force, year 3457. I am, or rather, I was, one of the last surviving humans." The 3 listeners stared in shock. "In our timeline," the hologram continued, "humanity developed space travel naturally. We encountered the Velrathi much later, when they were already an overwhelming galactic power. They destroyed us, not out of malice, but religious fervor. They believed they were the chosen people of beings they called the architects, and systematically eliminated any civilization that showed too much technological promise." The hologram showed scenes of devastating war, human cities burning, fleets of ships being destroyed by vastly superior Velrathi forces. By the time we understood the true nature of the Velrathi belief system, it was too late for us, but perhaps not too late for you. The hologram shifted to show scientific diagrams. "We created Project Dawn as a temporal bootstrap operation. By sending advanced technology back to our own past and making subtle genetic enhancements to key bloodlines, we ensured that humanity would develop faster and meet the Velrathi on more equal terms. On the bridge of his ship, Zach's tour was seeing the same hologram. All across human and Velrathi space, the message was being broadcast through the quantum entanglement network, impossible to block or jam. But the technology we sent back wasn't random. The hologram continued. We specifically chose designs that mirrored Velrathi technology, and we planted them not just on Earth but on worlds we knew both species would eventually colonize. The hologram showed a familiar symbol, the circle with a horizontal line and 3 dots beneath it. This symbol is not a company logo. It represents the temporal loop, the circular flow of knowledge from future to past and back again. The horizontal line represents the timeline, and the 3 dots represent the 3 phases of our plan. Send technology to the past, guide development, and reveal the truth when the time is right. In the command center on Earth, Admiral Garcia watched the hologram with a mixture of awe and disbelief. Dr. Ryan Cooper stood beside her, nodding slowly. A predestination paradox, he murmured. They created their own history. The hologram of Admiral Susan Chen continued. The Velrathi aren't truly evil. They're trapped in religious dogma, believing themselves to be the chosen people of godlike beings. The final part of our plan is to reveal the truth. The technology the Velrathi received throughout their history, which they attributed to divine intervention from the architects, was actually planted by future humans. The hologram showed Velrathi historical sites where artifacts similar to those found on New Horizon had been discovered thousands of years ago. We are the architects the Velrathi have worshipped for millennia, Admiral Chen said. Future humans, using time travel technology developed in our final days, seeded both our civilizations with the technology needed to advance. On New Horizon, Olivia gasped as she understood. We created a predestination paradox. We sent technology to our own past and to the Velrathi past, creating the very religious belief system that led them to destroy us in the original timeline. The hologram nodded, as if hearing her. The time loop is now complete. The Velrathi must face the truth. The primitive humans they look down upon are actually the gods they have worshipped for thousands of years. In orbit, Zach's tour stared at the hologram in shock, his 4 eyes wide, his skin patterns chaotic with emotion. Everything his people had believed for thousands of years was being turned upside down. Recall all attack forces, he ordered, his voice barely a whisper. We need to speak with the human leaders. The hologram of Admiral Chen made one final statement. We hope that by revealing this truth we can break the cycle of conflict that led to our destruction. The choice is now yours, both humans and Velrathi, to write a new history together. With those words, the hologram faded, leaving behind a stunned silence that stretched across 2 civilizations. 1 month after the revelation, representatives from humanity and the Velrathi gathered on neutral ground, a space station positioned between Earth and the nearest Velrathi colony. The station's large conference room was divided equally, with humans on one side and Velrathi on the other. Commander Ethan Powell sat beside Admiral Lisa Garcia, watching as High Envoy Zach's tour entered with Council Leader Mazvor. The Velrathi leaders moved with less of their usual fluid grace. Their skin patterns showed complex emotions that the human translators were still learning to interpret. Thank you for agreeing to this meeting, Admiral Garcia said once everyone was seated. Mazvor's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. We had little choice. The foundations of our civilization have been challenged. The past month had been difficult for both species. The Velrathi religious structure was in chaos. Many refused to believe the message from the future, seeing it as a human trick. Others had embraced it, forming new religious movements that viewed humans as living gods, an idea that made most humans deeply uncomfortable. Dr. Olivia Martinez entered the room, followed by Sam Bennett and Kate Franklin. They carried data from the New Horizon site and the 6 other artifact locations. Behind them came Dr. Ryan Cooper, whose theories about time travel had been proven correct. We've completed our analysis of all 7 sites, Olivia said. The technology is consistent with Admiral Chen's message. It was designed by humans from the future, using scientific principles that we're only beginning to understand. And yet, it feels familiar, added Ryan, as if it was specifically designed to be understandable to our minds despite being centuries ahead of our current capabilities. Zaxtor leaned forward. We have conducted our own investigations. The artifacts, found in our ancient holy sites, match those you discovered. They are clearly made by the same creators. He struggled with the last word, unable to use the term architects that had defined Velrathi religion for thousands of years. The genetic analysis is also conclusive, said the Velrathi science director. Both our species were modified. Humans received enhancements to speed technological development. Our ancestors received modifications that made them receptive to the technology being provided and predisposed to developing religious explanations for its origin. Alan Whitman spoke for the first time. In the original timeline, how long did the war between our species last? The Velrathi exchanged glances. Mazvor answered, according to your Admiral Chen's data, the conflict lasted for 73 years. At its end, fewer than 10,000 humans remained. They were the ones who developed the time travel technology and created the temporal loop we now find ourselves in. The room fell silent as both sides considered this alternate history that now would never happen. What I don't understand, Kate said, is why they didn't just go back and prevent the war entirely. Why create this complex scenario? Dr. Ryan Cooper shook his head. Time doesn't work that way. You can't change the past directly. It creates paradoxes that the universe prevents. But you can create stable time loops, where information or technology from the future influences the past in ways that eventually lead to that same future information being sent back. He paused. Except in this case, they created a slightly altered loop, one where humanity meets the Velrathi earlier and on more equal terms, and where we learn the truth about our beliefs before we destroy them, Zaxtor added quietly. Sam Bennett had been studying one of the artifacts they'd brought from New Horizon. It was a small cube covered in the now familiar symbols. There's one thing we still don't understand, he said. According to Admiral Chen's message, the survivors of the original timeline should have ceased to exist once they created the new timeline. Yet these devices are still active. They're still receiving data from somewhere. All eyes turned to him. What do you mean, receiving data? Admiral Garcia asked. Sam placed the cube on the table. It projected a holographic star map showing a location, far from both human and Velrathi space. This appeared yesterday. It's a set of coordinates and what appears to be a message. It's not from the past. It's being transmitted now. Dr. Olivia Martinez leaned forward to examine the projection. The message is using the same encryption as the other artifacts. It translates to, "The circle remains unbroken. We await contact." Zaxtor's skin patterns shifted rapidly. Are you saying some of the humans from the original timeline still exist? It seems impossible, Ryan said. But then again, so did time travel until recently. Perhaps they found a way to remove themselves from the normal timeline, to exist outside it while their plan unfolded. Admiral Garcia and Council Leader Mazavor exchanged looks. Both understood the implications. If survivors from the original timeline existed, they possessed technology far beyond what either civilization currently had. They might be allies, or a threat. We need to investigate this together, Garcia said. For once, Mazavor agreed without hesitation. Yes, this concerns both our peoples. 3 months later, a joint human-Velrathi expedition approached the coordinates from the message. The ship, named Unity, carried representatives from both species, including Commander Ethan Powell, Dr. Olivia Martinez, High Envoy Zaxtor, and Science Director Ven Lara. As they dropped out of FTL travel, they found themselves facing a small station orbiting an unremarkable planet. We're being hailed, reported Lieutenant Gary Miller from the communications station. A hologram appeared on the bridge. It showed an elderly human woman with the same uniform they had seen in Admiral Chen's message. Welcome, she said. We've been waiting for you for a very long time. Admiral Chen? Ethan asked in disbelief. The woman smiled. Yes and no. I am a descendant of the original Susan Chen. Our ancestors found a way to create a pocket of space-time separate from the main timeline, a refuge where they could monitor the success of their plan without interfering directly. How many of you are there? Olivia asked. Just over 12,000, Admiral Chen replied. The last survivors of the original human civilization, preserved outside normal time for over 900 years. Zach's tour stepped forward. Why contact us now? Because the loop is complete. The new timeline is stable. Humans and Velrothi have met as equals, and the war that destroyed our civilization will never happen. Her expression grew more serious. But there are other dangers in the galaxy that neither of your civilizations is prepared to face alone. Furio, view screen changed to show strange ships unlike anything they had ever seen. In our timeline, these arrived 50 years after the human-Velrothi war began. With both our civilizations weakened by conflict, neither could stand against them. Admiral, Chen's eyes held centuries of sorrow. We created the time loop not just to save humanity, but to ensure that humans and Velrothi would be united when this threat arrives. Ethan and Zach's tour looked at each other, centuries of programmed distrust giving way to the beginnings of real understanding. How long do we have? Ethan asked. In this timeline? About 20 years. Admiral Chen's hologram gestured to the station behind her. We've prepared everything you'll need, technology, strategies, knowledge. But most importantly, you have what we never had, unity. As the human and Velrothi representatives began to grasp the scale of both what had been done for them and what lay ahead, Admiral Chen's final words echoed across the bridge. The past is written. The present is a gift. The future is yours to create. Together.